Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make this cool cake topper using your M1 with the cutting tool. Here's what you're going to need for this project. You're going to need your xTool M1, your light grip cutting mat, your blade holder and a blade, and some cardstock. And if you'd like, you can have an optional contrasting background. Okay, let's get started. First, I'm going to pick the mode. We're going to use blade cut mode. I'm going to create a text block, and I'm able to overwrite the text here. I'm changing it to happy for happy birthday. And I'm going to pick a different typeface. I found for these cake toppers, the handwriting script fonts work best. I'm going to drag it to make it a little bit bigger, and you can see that there's cutout spaces between the letters. They do merge together pretty nicely, but there's areas where they overlap. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to change some of the spacing. Depending on the font type you have, you may need to adjust this so that the letters are touching. And you can go positive and negative in the spacing field. So I'm going to bring them together just a tiny bit. I'm going to go negative 0.05, and I find for this particular font face, it's just the right spacing. It brings it in a little tiny bit tighter. Next, I'm going to show you a little trick to make the letters merge together. So I'm going to make a copy of my whole text block, and I'm going to paste it together. I'm going to overlap them, and then selecting them both, I'm going to go up to the Combine tool, and I'm going to click Unite. And what you'll see will happen is the two overlapping text blocks will merge as one, and now you can see that there isn't that space between it. What's important for that is when you're using the blade cut, you don't want it to cut the letters individually. We want it to be all one continuous block of letters. Now I'm going to paste the text I had before because I want to keep the same sizing, and I'm going to override it to say birthday now. Take a look at that. You might notice that the beginning of the B is getting a little clipped. Sometimes it happens with different fonts, mostly, or I've seen it mostly in the script fonts. So I'm going to pad it with a space in the front, and that's going to take care of that little clipping that happens. And because I want this all to be joined together, the B isn't quite joined right. So I'm going to make another copy of it, and I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to go up to the text area, and I'm going to go change it so that I have just the B in one object and the Earth Day in another. And that's going to allow me to get them a little closer and join them. I'm going to do the same trick I had here before. I'm going to put a little space before the I so that it doesn't clip. And now I'm going to just move the whole object together to where it looks right, where I think it's going to join and look the most seamless as one scripted word. I'm using the cursor keys to micro move it back and forth. So I'm going to copy the second part of the word and paste it together to do that same trick as I did before, where I'm going to get rid of the spaces between the letters. And I'm just going to move it up and overlap it. Using the cursor, and holding the shift bar, I'm going to try to select them both together. Going again to the Combine tool and selecting Unite. You can see that it makes it into one whole object without the spaces between them. Just moving it a tiny bit more just to try to get it right. And when it's just where I want it, I'm going to select the second part of the word and the letter B. And I'm again going to go up to Combine and select Unite. Now I've got one continuous word. The only thing now I need to fix is the dot over the I. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to make a shape. I'm going to grab a circle shape, and I'm going to draw a circle a little bit bigger than the dot over the I. The reason why I'm going to do this is another trick that you may find to use from time to time. I'm going to take the two of them, overlap them. I'm going to select them both, the word and the dot. I'm going to go to Combine again, and this time I'm going to pick Subtract. And what that's going to do is where the two objects are overlapping, it's going to delete or subtract from the image. So now I'm going to create another circle, and I'm going to draw it exactly where I want it so that it's going to fit over the eye and be all one kind of grouped together object for the cake topper. So again, I'm selecting both the dot over the I and the word. I'm holding down the Shift key while I'm selecting both, going to Combine and choosing Unite. And now you can see that it's one whole object and the dot over the I is joined together. I'm going to zoom out a little bit right now. The next step here, I want to combine the happy with the birthday together. So I'm aligning it so that it's both spaced and trying to find some spots where the birthday can join the word happy so that they can all be one piece together. That looks good there. A little overlap under the H and the B, and where the letter D touches underneath the last P in happy. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and select both objects. Again, I'm going to go up to Combine and pick Unite again. And now I have one whole object, one whole cutout space, one whole cutout object that's all the words grouped together. So if this looks good, I'm ready to move on to my next step where I'm actually going to just cut it out using my blade. If you haven't already, now it's time to connect your device. So I'm going to go up to the Connect Device box up in the upper right-hand corner. My device is connected via Wi-Fi, so I'm going to click Wi-Fi, and I should see my device appear. There it is. There's my laser box. I'll click Select, and my device is now connected. I can see the material that I'm going to cut. Now I need to pick the type of material that I'm going to cut with. I'm going to just place it right up there towards the top. I can click my material, and this is cardstock, and I find that it cuts very close to craft paper. But if there's a material type that you want to use, it's either going to be in the list, or you can click More, and it will pop up a dialog where you can see some other types. I picked the brown craft paper because I've tested this paper before, and that seems to be a good fit. Now I'm ready to go. I click Process, and I'm going to see my estimate, and I'm ready to go. So up in the top right-hand corner, I click Start. My device is going to start cutting. I head over to my M1, and I press the Action button, and off we go. So here's a quick view of the M1 with the blade attachment cutting out my letters. After a few minutes, it's done. I click Done on the dialog to close the window, and here's what my cutout looks like. So the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cutout, I'm going to put it down on the plate, and I want to outline it because I want to draw a contrasting color outline around my letters. So using the extract tool, I now have a copy of or a picture of my cutout, and I can use the magic eraser tool to clean it up a little bit. Because I'm going to be cutting out around it, I don't need to get all the spaces between the letters. I'm just going to do a rough crop around it and a little bit of cleanup using the eraser tool. The eraser tool is helpful for kind of picking up any stray marks or little bits of the image that didn't capture perfectly. So I'm just cleaning that up right above the letter so I have a clean outline. When I'm ready to go, I have my shape, and now I can outline it. Pick the outline tool. This brings up a dialog where you can draw a outline around your shape with a certain spacing. Because I want it to fill in behind the glittery letters, I'm trying to find an outline where it fills in all the space. So I put in 8, it wasn't quite enough, I put in 9, and it's a little too much, so I'm kind of fiddling with the number of millimeters around it to get just enough that it outlines it, but it doesn't cut out spaces between the words. So there's my outline for my happy birthday. Now that I have my outline, I'm going to reset up my cardstock. And so I'm going to go back to my M1 and replace the cutout of the happy birthday with the contrasting red cardstock that I have, because that's what I'm going to be cutting out to make my new shape. And now that I have my outline, I can delete the original object, the one that says happy birthday above. Now that's deleted, I can move my cutout shape right up to where I think it's going to fit on my cardstock. I'm going to pick the type of material. Again, I'm going to pick brown craft paper because I've tested this before and that works well for my cardstock. I'm going to click process. I'm going to see my outline and off I go for cutting out my background cardstock. When my cutting is complete, I peel off the cardstock and I can glue it up to the back of my glitter letters, and here's my sign, finished and ready to go.